everyone, I'm Allie with PotomacBeads.com, and today's video is going to feature a stretchy version of right angle weave using the new Potomac bicones. Gather up some bicones and some Gossamer stretchy string, and we'll make this fun stretch on crystal bangle. So to start the design, I've actually gone ahead and done one of my rows of my 2-needle right angle weave, and I'm getting that kind of zigzag pattern. I wanted to show, as I was getting ready for starting the next row, how to add the Gossamer floss to the big eye needles. So the big eye needles, or the twisted needles, are what I would suggest for working with this Gossamer. They have a full opening along their ends, and you're going to put the Gossamer thread, that stretchy in, and kind of pull it to one of the ends. We're going to likewise put a needle on the other end, and I have this cut to right about 22 inches, because rather than working, and just to kind of keep it simple, rather than working with a large piece of the Gossamer, I'm working with smaller pieces and then I'll tie it together. Also, to keep it nice and simple, we are working with 2 needles. You can do this right angle weave with 1 needle, but for those of you that just want a nice, simple, stretchy crystal bracelet where you don't have a clasp, especially if you have clasp allergies, this is a great way to learn how to do right angle weave that moves fairly quickly. So I'm going to go into the design and begin with my crystal color. It's going to progress basically from clear to more of the clouded colors. When I start, I'm going to go in and add the crystal bead right along the bottom and push it onto the Gossamer and the needle. From there, I want you to add a crystal on the right needle and a crystal on the left needle. Let those all drop down to the middle of the stretchy floss. From there, I'm going to progress to my opal color, and I know it's a little bit hard to see sometimes these more crystal colors in the design, but I wanted to show how nice it is to be able to see through with this almost naked looking Gossamer. The next bead that I just put on was the opal, and you can see I took 1 needle and went through the opal from the left side, and the other needle and went through from the right side. That creates a crisscrossing effect and creates my first little right angle weave unit. From here, I'm going to go in and add the color that I crisscrossed through on each of my needles. So I'm going to add an opal with the right needle and an opal with the left needle. Let that drop down next to the right angle unit that I already have established. And now you can see I have the opal on the right and the left needle. From here, I go into the Aqua AB color. I'm going to take the Aqua AB, the first one, and go from right to left, taking the whole needle through, because it becomes a tight fit to get really more than 4 strands of the Gossamer through. The Gossamer needs to be doubled where you have the needle connected. So I take one through and then the other one through. Pull it down and make sure that it's in place before going on to your next portion of your pattern. Next portion again, now we do the aqua, because we went through an aqua, both the right and the left needle. And I'm going to do aqua on the left and the right. Let those drop down, and then I'm going back to my crystal color. So I'm going to cross through crystal, 1 right to left and 1 left to right. So this is 2 needle right angle weave. It gets you that same look and that same design. The nice thing with the Gossamer is it almost disappears. It does look more like a dental floss rather than like the Stretch Magic, which is clear. This does have a little bit of a white look to it. But what we're going to do eventually is we're actually going to combine these 2 pieces and these 2 little strips that we are creating. When we combine them, we'll do basically a 3rd strip down the middle. That's going to be the easiest way for you to learn how to do this multi-row right angle weave stretchy bracelet. So continue going about 7 inches to 9 inches, depending on the length of your wrist. You want to make sure that it's going to be able to stretch over the largest part of your wrist, which is usually where your knuckle is. So go ahead and repeat the pattern with one on each side of the color that you cross through and creating that little V design with the pattern repeating over and over. Once you're done one piece of that, go ahead and do a second piece, and then we'll come back together in order to sew the two together and finish off our ends. Now once you have the two lines established, I kind of put beads in here so you could see the effect that's going to happen. You can decide exactly what you want your pattern to be, but I'm going to do it so that it's actually a zigzag pattern. To do so, I have my two lines of my crystals, and I'm actually going to start with a third one. So just like we did in the beginning, I'm going to start with the blue color because that's going to be opposite of my crystal color. That's my ending color. And I'm going to let that drop down to the new piece of gossamer that I have on here. From here, I'm going to take the needle on the right hand side and go up the right bicone go up the left bicone on the right side. With the left needle, I'm going to go up the right bicone of the left piece and pull those basically together, making sure still that you have an equal amount of your gossamer floss on each end. And I have not finished off the other ends of my project. So they're still kind of hanging up here, unfinished with the ends there. So now for my next piece, my next stitch, what I'm going to do is add the crystal color here. And I know I'm a little bit off screen there. I don't want to confuse you, but I don't want to move my project too much. The crystal, we're going to go through right to left and left to right. So basically it's always that middle bead, the one that runs up the middle, that you're going to be adding to the new piece of gossamer. With the gossamer that you have, or with the side pieces, you're always going to be taking one needle up the right side through that right bead, or through the left bead on the right side rather, and then on the right with the left needle. So on the right side with that left needle, and just up through one bead. Whatever bead you are coming out of, that is the color bead then that you're going to crisscross through. So I'm going through my opal color, right to left, and then left to right. One thing you want to be aware of as you're working with the gossamer is that it is a multi-part piece, or a multi-part string. So you want to make sure that you're not sewing through it with your needle. Now that I have that next bead on, give a little tight yank. Up goes the needle on the right hand side through that left bead, and the needle on the left is going to go up through the right bead. When I get to the middle now, I get to see my first little color change, which is kind of fun because you can't really see it as much with the opal. But I'm going to put on another one of my Aqua AB. And then, not to confuse you, but while I have this needle in my hand, I'm also going to go up through that next bead on the left. That way I kind of get two stitches in while I have that bead in the hand, or that needle in my hand rather. With the needle that's on the left, I'm going to go through that aqua bead towards the right. And then after I go through that aqua bead towards the right, I'm going to go up through the next crystal bead. And once you're through the crystal then, you get to continue the project as you're adding those two center pieces, or rather the two side pieces together with the center piece. So again, you're in the middle, you're coming out of a crystal, so you know the next bead to add is going to be a crystal bead. So you're only ever adding one bead, that middle bead, per stitch. I'm going to add the crystal, and then for time-saving purpose, I'm also going to sew up through the next bead on the opposite side. Taking the floss, sew through that crystal bead, going from left to right. And then again, while that needle is in my hand, I'm going to sew through and up the opal bead on the other side. Once I'm up through the opal bead then, with both sides, I'll take the floss and just give a nice tight pull. That way all the extra floss is gone and you don't see any extra showing. So there you can see the effect that's starting to happen of that zigzagging effect. I'm going to go through and just continue to add in the crystals along the middle. Whatever color my Gossamer is coming out of, that is the color that I will be adding. And we're going to continue the whole length of this little cuff crystal bracelet here and continue on adding in my lovely Potomac bicones. When you get to the end of the design, what I did was I actually just tied off my threads a little bit further back. That way I didn't have a lot of extra thread showing. And I put on one of my blue crystals. I'm going to go back and link to the starter side. There, my crystal color. And I'm going to put on another one of my blue crystals. That's going to close up that right angle weave unit and continue the look of my zigzag. So that continues my zigzag look. Then I'm going to continue with that right angle weave. I'm going to go up through that blue bead there. And you want to make sure when you're pulling the gossamer that you're not pulling at the needle, because that will fray the gossamer. And I'm going to sew back through then that blue. I know it's super sparkly. And pull the gossamer. And then you can kind of line up and see where you need to go. I know I need to add one more blue here. And this is actually going to be traditional right angle weave since I have the one needle. If you have the two, you can run up and down the center as we were doing as we made our sides. I'm going to hold there. Pull that extra gossamer through. And as I pull that through then, you can see exactly where I need to get to. So I'm going to sew back through my right angle units. And here's where it can be a little bit tricky on that gossamer. I'm going back and I'm holding on to the actual gossamer rather than the needle because I don't want it to fray. So I have that I'm sewing back along the design, making sure that I don't see any extra of my stretch kind of anywhere. I'm going to go down through this bead just as if I was kind of going down the side. And I have one more bead to add in to finish off the design. You can see that empty hole right there. I'm going to go over with that one aqua bead there. And then I have one more of my aqua A bead to add in and up through the crystal bead there. So if you can, and the size is right, you want to be able to finish your pattern. And then you can see all I need to do then is knot and finish that design. And you have that beautiful, beautiful crystal look here with the gossamer that makes it super stretchy that I can stretch onto my wrist. And I don't have to worry about anything metal-wise. Obviously, I have to finish off this end and tie that off, and it has a nice easy stretch to it. I was able to get the seed beads through and able to get the needle through multiple times. If you want to, you can also glue the end of your gossamer floss with some super new glue, and that will make almost like a stiff needle as well. You don't want to do that on the gossamer because it can actually break it down as you're working with it, but this has a nice flexible end to it then. After you go through and tie off that little crystal end here, your bracelet is going to be completed, your little stretchy bling bracelet. And you can use any materials and any beads to do this. I chose to do the crystals again so that way you could see how kind of crystal clear it is and how that nice design ends up learning that right angle weave that you may not have been familiar with. I went ahead and used a tube of 3 different colors. If you want to check it out and see your different designs, you can follow the links below. I used the Aqua AB, the opal, and the crystal color along with gossamer thread. I still have more of the gossamer floss for my next project ready to go. And obviously I want to keep my large eye beading needles because I want to be able to take that extra gossamer floss and make another design with it. So keep your gossamer on the little spool for all of your extras to make your next design as well. This is also a great idea to make a little stretchy ring too. If you need any of these materials, we'll put links below in the video description that we can send them to you from PotomacBeads.com or PotomacBeads.eu. You can also look at the beginning of the video where we have listed out the materials that you will use as well. Also, always remember you can give a little thumbs up to this video if you like the design idea, like the technique, Or also, if you would like to comment below, say what you're making, or suggestions or ideas or comments below, that would be great as well. You can also always subscribe to get the regular info about when these are published as well. Keep in mind, in addition to purchasing from us at PotomacBeads.com, you can also join us on Facebook and join our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making. It's a wonderful interactive group of people that love to make jewelry, are super helpful, creative, and it's an awesome community to be a part of. Thanks so much for watching, and have fun making this fun little crystal stretch bangle bracelet.